Just before we continue with your base, we had an interesting question, Benny, your piece of clothing you were making for. Do you want to describe it again? So,
about knee length on both ends and nothing connecting the thing and a simple hole on the top.
Right. And the point of it is just
just generally decorative, and I think to protect the armor from rust.
Right. So it's not to keep people. It's not because of the heat or the. So we saw when we were learning Tzit Aleph, we saw the Shulchan Aruch mentioned that the suda that's put round the neck, which was used in Eretz Yisrael and in Spain in his days, he said it was potter. And we discussed why was it potter? Why does it not need Tzit Tzit? And Mishnah Berurah brought down 4 reasons. Right? And one of the reasons we saw was it's only for therefore honor. It was to make them look respectable, and it wasn't to keep them warm or to protect from the sun or from the cold. So that was one of the 4 reasons given, which in this case you have, which would pass it for that reason. The Mishnah Berurah mentioned that many opinions were arguing these different reasons, which is the correct reason, right? So according to that reason would be potter from Tzit Tzit. It sounds like from the Mishnah Berurah that he's not willing to rely on that reason by itself, without any of the other reasons. Here it's covering the whole body, you don't have any other reasons. It's made mostly as a garment, it's not made just to hold things, it's made as a garment, it's made to cover the body, not just the head. So that reason enough is not enough to potter it. So as I said, I think that what we have to do is round the corners, right? Now how much do you have to round the corners? We didn't talk about that. We saw in Sif Tes, he mentioned that the corners have to be square. If they're round, then it's not chayv, it's only if they're square. How round is round? So at the time we didn't see the Bir Halacha. We have a look now at the Bir Halacha on Sif Tes. No, on Sif Tes, there's a Bir Halacha. On mine it's on page 36. There's a different mascha v'lo shihiyu agulos.
Which says Sudr? No. The one we saw, or was thinking
about 10 lines above that. Maybe 15 lines above that.
Which is this?
Was it Dibra Masya?
V'lo shihiyu.
Who is it speaking?
We're talking about the Bir Halacha now.
Okay.
Right? So there's Dibra Masya v'lo shihiyu agulos. Should be a star and then a v'lo shihiyu.
It's about the 5th or 6th line up when it becomes thin.
Right. So it says there, right? It's unclear what's called round. How round is called round? Obviously, if there's only a tiny bit round, that's still a square corner. Even if you look carefully at any square corner, you'll see that it's probably a little bit rounded. So it says, it's not logical to say that if you through a tiny bit of rounding at the very point of the corner, that's enough to potter it. That's not. It says you can't say that's not correct. To potter shava begin with sisters. It's no different from the corning of the mizbeach, the Karmi'El sham bezvachim, the samach beis, the rubuah mizbeach v'chen hakronos ma'akev. Right, the mizbeach had to be 100% square, had to be completely square. As did the corners of the mizbeach, the kronos that come above the mizbeach. If there was a smaller begam on the mizbeach, less than a tefach or kazayis, then it's kosher. It sounds like that even if the corner of the mizbeach had this begam, had this dent in it, it would still be kosher. So we know that the mizbeach had to be square, and yet we know that if it's got a dent in it, it's still kosher. So you can see that square doesn't literally mean it has to be 100% square. V'ayin b'sukkah daf memtes amadav tofes to masal shakol da'atam to bottom when adayin shem ribuah. It's still called square. He says maybe it's relative. The mizbeach which is very very big. So if it had a tefach missing, 8 centimeters, that's still square relative to its size. Whereas here we're talking about a smaller garment, maybe the amount that has to be missing is relative.
Yeah,
so
it raises this issue, right? Is this rounded
Right,
here?
right.
Really?
We're going to talk about shas in a minute.
Yeah,
That's going to be the last if we're going to get to. So the Mishnah was unclear how called is round. He ends off. He doesn't give us a share how round is
A
round.
better way to do it would be to just lock the corner clean off like this and make it.
No, but then we're making it into a five-cornered garment,
And it's a.
which we mentioned according to Shulchan Aruch, a five-cornered
Not
garment
if
is
you do it on
chayv
all
tzit
four
tzit.
corners. If you do that. If you do that on all four
Well,
corners.
then you're going to have an 8-cornered garment, which would also be chayv. But according to Shulchan Aruch, 4 is the minimum. We saw that 4 is the minimum. You'd only put tzitzis on 4 corners, but you'd have to put tzitzis on 4 of the corners, the 4 furthest corners. We saw that other people are going there. We don't give bracha on such a beged, but it is chayv and tzitzis according to Shulchan Aruch. The best thing to do is to round it. How round is round? The Mishnah doesn't have a conclusion. If you look at it has to be recognizably round. It has to be recognizably round. If you look at a frak, what the Rabbonim wear, right? They have at the back a slit, and the split comes up. Often it comes up half the length of the beged, right, or more than half. We mentioned even if it's it looks approximately half. We mentioned one still has a problem because of Ma'as Ayin, even if it's just slightly less. It has to be recognizably less than half to be part of Tzitzis. There's a knot. They look around half. I have never measured it, but it looks approximately half. So they round it off. One of the corners at the back, they round off. It's recognizably round. You can see from if you look at it, you can quite clearly see it looks rounded off.
Yeah,
it has to be like that. It has to be recognizably round.
Another question is, if you would go ahead and to round the corner,
Yeah.
and then go ahead and fold the bottom layer so that it would look like it had 4 corners, but really the actual corner of the actual fabric was folded underneath. Would that be called a 4 corner?
Right, so we talked about that. If you fold it into a corner, right, we discussed that. What zif was that in? In Sif Gimel we had the other way round. No, that's Sif Gimel. That's Sif Gimel, right? No, that's the other way around, where you start off with a corner and you fold it to make it. One second, you want to fold it into a corner.
No.
First you want to
round it,
and then you double it on the inside so that it's still visually appealing on the outside. That it looks like it has 4 corners, but the actual fabric itself has a rounded corner. It's just that it's inside.
And then you're gonna sew it in some way.
You don't necessarily need to sew it. If you just pin it, it would be fine.
So
if someone would go ahead and make it that it is an actual corner, then I wouldn't do that. If you just pin it.
Again, if you're going to pin it in a way that you're going to leave
Then
it like that,
it's gonna be
I think that's no good. Because you're going to wear it that way. That's how it's going to be. That's the point of it. To leave it the way you're turning it into a corner. Yeah.
This will revisit the issue.
Just round it. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be as round as a football. Right? It just has to be. Has to be rounded. It looks like it has to be rounded. Okay. Right. Let's move on to Sifyud Base. So we can discuss now shirts, right? Because we had the question that shirts surely has 4 corners, 2 at the bottom and another 2 over here, right?
Just before we move on, it's curious because the 4 reasons given why something is not required to some of them actually apply to a talis gadol. You don't wear a talis gadol to stay warm or cold.
Right. The poskim talk about that. That's one of the reasons we mentioned that many poskim disagree with the basis of that reason. The basis of that's the reason they give.
Right.
That's the reason they give. They say, "What about talis gadol? We don't wear it to keep warm." Right? The truth is that I do.
Some do, but
especially in the summer.
To stay warm.
Yes, because the air conditioning.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
I wrap myself up. I cover my head. From the beginning to the end of davening, I'm well covered in it to keep myself warm. It's good protection.
Now, I know that some people do it in the winter.
Even the people who don't, that's the reason they give to push it to be doing for that reason, to push off that reason. They think that our talis gadol, we wear it for covered, for davening. We don't wear it to keep us warm, and it's not a reason to pattern. That's those who argue on that reason. Yes. Okay, let's see Sifyud Base, the final Sif, and now as we mentioned, we're going to move over. On Tuesday we move into Chus Purim. Sifyud Base. Malbushim shebimitzrayim, hanikoim guchash v'chein mintigi v'dulmanish v'kaftanish v'pidinish shebetagoma. All these different types of clothing which we don't have nowadays. We don't know what they are exactly. Alpha b'sheish dalit kanafayim p'turim. We're going to see in the Mishnah. We're going to discuss our clothes today, right? All these, even though it has 4 corners, they were potter. Hagovawadin malbushim shegililos b'nei Ashkenaz v'Sfarad. So also the clothes in Ashkenaz, Germany, France, Germany, Sfarad, in Spain, Hol ve'ein knafeihen asuyin shehiyu shnaim bifneihen, v'shnaim lachareihem, mechuvonim, zu keneged zu p'turim. Seeing as the corners are not made in a way that you have two in the front and two in the back corresponding to at the back, therefore they are pata. They are potter from tzitzis. Right? This already sounds like something very similar to a shirt, right? Could be all these garments were similar in that way, even though they have four corners. The thing is, you haven't got two at the front and two at the back. That's potter. Right? With shirt, we have four tzitzis at the front, four corners at the front, two at the bottom, two at the top. There aren't two at the back. Therefore, according to this, it should be potter. Let's see the shemoneh-esrei Lamed Vav. Yes.
It seems like, I mean, one of the things listed in here is obviously a kaftan, right?
Yeah, kaftani.
Or kaftanis.
Oh, I see.
Right?
Okay.
And a kaftan.
How does it look?
Kaftan is like a nightshirt, but it's not for nighttime. But it's in places like Morocco and stuff. People wear a kaftan, right?
Okay.
And it is cut up to the knees. It's like a robe, and it's cut up to the knees,
Right.
and it has square corners
Where are the corners?
at the bottom.
All four at the bottom?
Think of a poncho that is sewed together to the knees,
Right.
right? Think in those terms, right?
It's sewed on the sides.
Yeah.
So then it hasn't got corners because it's sewed on the sides. We mentioned that's not called a corner then.
No, but it's slit up to the knee, right?
Slit
It's
up
quite
to the
high.
knee, so that's not high enough. We mentioned it has to be roiv. It has to be the majority split. The
Majority.
majority length of the beggar
I
from
see.
here
Okay.
down to the bottom.
Okay, so if it's a
has
third
to be majority
split,
split. We mentioned if it's not clearly a majority, then also Moshe Rabbeinu says it's nice iron. But it has to be if it's up to only split up to the knee. That's not a
Yeah, I
corner
think
at
it's
all.
intended to clearly not be the majority.
Right, so if it's quite clearly not the majority of the
Right.
garment, then it's part. Okay, so let's have a look at this shemoneh-esrei Lamed Vav. Hoyel ve'ein v'chula. Dina beis Yosef Kosaf. Yesh ledaktik v'mabushim shalonu. Sheish and beis kanfos somach latavo. It has two corners close to the neck. The beis kanfos somach latavo, another two corners close to the ground. Loma ein matin b'hem tzitzis. Why don't we put tzitzis on them? V'tiris as they come matil. Simply brought a number of different reasons. V'docha osom adarkei Moshe. And the Darkei Moshe pushes them off. Again, we mentioned that the Beis Yosef and the Darkei Moshe are the same two people here, the Shulchan Aruch and the Ramah. Right? On the Torah, remember that we mentioned that the Torah is the first Rishon who put the order of the halachas in the order we have here in the Shulchan Aruch. Right? He's a Rishon, he was the son of the Rosh, he put it in the order of how we have in the Shulchan Aruch. And on that we have the main Pirush on that is the Beis Yosef, who discusses the source of all the dinim of the Torah in the Gemara and the Rishonim, and then often disagrees with him based on other Rishonim. Right? That's the Beis Yosef, written by Rabbi Eliezer Stahl, the person who wrote the Shulchan Aruch. And then we also have the opinions of the Darkei Moshe printed in the Torah. Darkei Moshe is Moshe Ishlis the Ramah. Then they wrote their opinions just in short halachic form here. Mutar asa in the Shulchan Aruch. Right? And the main place where they discuss their halachas is in the Pirushim on the Torah. So the Beis Yosef there gives a number of reasons. The Darkei Moshe, the Ramah, pushes them off. The reason given by the Darkei Moshe is because the mitzvah tzitzis ulechatchila. So you have the base lefon and base la'achor. Because the mitzvah tzitzis have two in the front and two in the back. In our clothing, all four of them are at the front. You can't wear it in any other way. There's no way you could wear the shirt. It's not that it happens to be a piece of beggar which you just happen to wear with two at the front. There's no way of wearing a shirt with two at the front, two at the back. It's designed to have all four at the front. And that's the reason he gave here in the Ramah. This is a sort of a beggar, again, I'm not sure if they have something like this nowadays, seems to have at the front two corners open like we have in all our jackets and shirts, two corners at the front. In addition to that, they had some sort of piece of a beggar that went over the shoulders, right? And it was square at the back. Shikon Kalma. Posha two to potter. Right, so here we have four corners, two at the front and another two on the shoulders at the back. It'd be relevant maybe if one had a collar maybe which was squared at the back. I don't know if they have such a thing. Posher to the potter, shall let Tzad Malo Einen Kanfis Akarna, Hamanoch Luk Tzas Meachorov, Vein Ze Kronos, Hil Vein Shnei Kronos, Shemachorov, Nuchuvonos Neged Hakamfis Shelefonov, Alkanoshene. Because the two at the back are not in line with the two at the front, it's potter. We have two at the front down here, very low down. The two at the back are right here on the shoulders. It's just a very short beged. So he says that's also potter, even though you have two at the front and two at the back, because the two at the back are very, very, very high up on the back, top of the back.
How aligned do they have to be?
Okay, so again, this is something which is not clear, not written clearly how in line it has to be. But we can see that in this case, where two at the front here and two just on the shoulder, that's already going to be potter.
Like the sailors used to wear.
Sorry?
Like the sailors used to wear.
Yeah, they had something similar to that? Oh yeah, of
That's
course.
exactly like
Right.
Well, they had a
right,
flap, yeah.
Right.
That's right.
Okay, so the sailors wouldn't have to put Tzit Tzit in, right?
That's a problem with the rova goof. If it's up high,
Yeah.
is it because ideally we want the corner to be two corners of the beged that's covering the front and two corners of the beged that's covering the back. This
Right.
beged is
No, it sounds like the beggars went the whole way around down the back, but they had,
Right.
like the sailors, this sort of extra piece
Right.
that went over, and that was squared off. And because of this halacha, the idea of Tzit Tzit is that the corners are approximately in line,
right.
it's potter because of that. Well, that's what the Dark Moshe the Umar writes. Because of Amoglavam Yan Shalocha du Fefes Biad Bidei Hagoinim, Lo Motsu Tam Nochoi. Moglavam says that this halacha is unclear. They were looking for reasons it's not 100% clear what the reason is.
Rafefis means unclear.
Fefes means it's shaky. Ki Gamal Tam Dark Moshe Yish Lefak V'Karba K'Moshe Chosam Pim Begotem. Al Ken Yishmam Yase Keren Achas Agula K'Moshe Chosam Beisosim Shem Azkenim. So the Moglavam holds that it's unclear what the reason is, and therefore one should round off the corners. Which is what we discussed, the frak that the Rabbonim wear, especially that beged. It's often occurs that most of that it's mostly open. The slit at the back goes up more than half the back. In the two at the back are in line with the two at the front. Therefore one should make one of those four corners rounded.
How are they in line with the ones at the front?
They're not. They're in line in terms of the height. The height is in line. The two at the front are.
Oh, I see. I got it. Okay,
jacket.
right.
It's just like a long jacket.
Yeah, got it.
You have two at the front, and then you have the slit. One slit.
Yeah, they're both low.
There's one
right.
slit at the back, which turns it into two corners.
Yeah.
And they're at the same length.
One is in the center, and one is in. Actually, no, they're both in the center. You're right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they're both in the centre. Yeah. I mean, jackets as well. I mean, jackets are okay because they're not mostly split. The slit only goes up part of the way. The problem is the long Rabbonisha coats, which are very long, and then the slit goes all the way up to the middle of the body. So that's already looks almost half split. Okay. So he says she should round off the corner. Have a look at the Bialocha. That's the Bialocha we just saw a few minutes ago, where he discusses how round it has to be. What he's talking about is it has 6 corners. He tells you to preferably round off 3 to turn it into a 3-cornered garment.
Where's there 6?
I think he's worried about the 2 at the top as well.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Because he mentioned that's not clear. Because the Moglavam mentions that even with the shirt, it sounds like the Moglavam wants even with the shirt to round off one of the corners. But that's not the minhag nowadays. With shirts, we don't round off corners at all. That's the last behaloch. The last Meshach Bosukot Navazayin. The Beis Lachareim. וזה הלוש שנמשך שגוגלה איזה אנושים שמקפלים חלק אחד מהטליס מאויד עד שנעשה דק ואין מכסה כלל רק הצבו וכוונוסם שיהיה בייס ציציס לאחורי ממש על כספיהם ואין זה מן המובחר זה אם כן אין כאן כיסוי גוף אלא כיסוי ראש. So he said that some people fold up the talis and then it ends up with the two tzitzis the two back tzitzis are on their shoulders. So he says, well, I shouldn't do that because it should be a kisui guf. It should cover basically the body, not the head. באופן שבשתי הצדותיו יהיה אחס והציציס לפודוב, חלק לאחוב דצותיו לפודוב לאחוב דם ימיקי לפודוב לאחוב לכן די בהפסק היד. Best is to have the talis folded in the middle, two in the front, two in the back, and the hand separates between the front and the back.
He said the mafsekis, my talis has like a white a piece of cloth.
Right.
I never thought of that. Maybe it's for halachic reason. I thought it was like maybe for decorative reasons.
Why is the piece of cloth?
Halfway through. There's like a white line.
Oh, I see.
But it may be for this reason to...
Oh, I see, to help you put half at the front, half at the back. Oh, yeah, could be. Okay. Fine. Okay, should we stop here? No, we're going to go on to... There's no point starting Sifri Simon because then we're going to... It's a long sin.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
We'll pick it up after.
So to bring Kehilla Keren tomorrow.
So we'll pick it up after Pesach. We'll pick this up after Pesach.
Purim and Pesach and then back to Tzit Tzit. Right.